Hey, this is Bill DeWeese with Long Strange Journey, and it's January 2nd, so Happy New Year. And the reason I'm out here braving the harsh Florida winter here on January 2nd is to bring you another reviews you can use. And in this episode, I'm going to do a long-term review of the Penn Fathom 200 low-profile bait casting reel. Now, I've used this reel for over a year now, and well over a year, and have really come to like this reel and think that it's actually worth your consideration if you're an inshore fisherman and you're looking to fish with a bait caster. Let me start by saying I use a number of different bait casting reels when I'm on the water, but this has turned out to be an exceptional reel for a number of reasons, which we'll go through in this video. So I thought I'd bring it to your attention and let you know about this reel and what it's capable of doing. Now I have this paired with an LMG from Bull Bay Tackle. This is a medium heavy fast. This is a 7-foot rod, 8 to 17 pound. It's actually pretty light, fast tip, but it is heavy enough because one thing that's unique about this reel is for what you get, this drag on this reel boasts a 25-pound drag, and it has been very good for using the full bandwidth, if you will, of 30-pound braid. So obviously you can lock the drag all the way down, and with 30-pound braid you're at 30 pounds, but you can use the full range out to about 25 pounds of drag. So you can tackle fish that are tight around structure. You can tackle fish that are a little bit larger. This is a little bit better than your typical 11-pound drag reel.
And here we are at the Penn website with pennfishing.com, and we're going to go to reels. We're going to skip over conventional round reels and go to the low profile bait casting reels. First thing you'll notice that there are two models. There's the Squall and there's the Penn Fathom. And what you'll see here is the Squall is the slightly less expensive reel. It's got a few less features on it. It is an all-metal body, and it also has 5-to-1 bearings. This is a 6-to-1 bearing. The other thing you'll notice about these two reels that we'll get to in comparison is the brake system for the casting brake, not the spool brake. They're probably quite similar, but the casting brake are different. Here you have a standard mag brake, and here you have a combined brake with mag and centrifugal, which is actually a very important feature in my mind and what you would expect on a reel of this price and this class. And it really makes for some exceptional performance. And real quickly, so you've got a 200, a 300, and a 400 baits. I'm targeting a universally applicable inshore reel that's going to toss total lure weights down to a ½ ounce, maybe a little bit less. So I'm doing the 200. You'll notice the 200 comes in gold and it comes in red. The key differences there is the gear ratio, which, I don't get hung up on gear ratio. I focus on what the gear ratio yields, which is the line take-up rate in inches per turn. So I'm using the high speed, that's the 8:1 ratio. It's 33 inches per turn take-up rate, whereas the lower gear ratio is 24 inches per turn. So going in now, you got the 200 low profile slow. You have the high speed that we're going to be talking about today, and this is what we're going to be reviewing. And then you've got the left-handed 200, and then you've got the 300s, and you could scroll along, I think, to right and see the 400s. But we're not going to worry about those. The key things here are, again, the 33 inches per turn. It's got the HT100 drag. This drag is fantastic. This is classic, great Penn drag, but you're talking about a 24-pound drag for the 200 drag range. In this particular case, this reel is a tiny tank, and I'm going to be running 30 pounds of line. So when you get a fish on, and this reel is a tiny little small reel, on the order of 8 ounces, which is fantastic, but it's going to only hold 180 yards of line, and you want to be able to turn a larger fish. So that's kind of the key things here on the drag. Again, this is a 6-in-1 stainless steel bearing. So this is really cool because in the bait casting world, there's this bearing war that has gone on over the recent years, 8-to-1, 10-to-1. I've got some reels that are 10-to-1. Well, where are they putting the bearings? If you're in a 10-to-1 reel, where are they putting the bearings? They're putting the bearings in like the handle cranks and all these places that get exposed to salt water. And I've had some of my 10-to-1 and 8-to-1 reels have seized up bearings in the paddles of the crank. I have got cheaper reels that basically have a Delrin bushing inside of that, and they go for decades without having any problems because there's no bearing been put in harm's way needlessly. So a 5-to-1, 6-to-1 bearing, I mean, you only have so many bearings in a reel, and this is a fantastic way of getting a good amount of free spool activity without overloading the reel with bearings that are simply going to be maintenance nightmares.
All right, enough of the ones and zeros on the website. Let's get this into our hot little hands and see what it looks like up close and personal. So here we have the Fathom, and this is, again, it's an all-metal reel. It's got a spool brake, as you would expect, and it's got the casting brake. And the casting brake is the dual brake. And so let's start by doing a comparison among some of the reels that we've mentioned. So this reel comes in by weight in terms of ounces at 8.55 ounces. That's actually consistent with what we see from Penn's website. And what we've got here is all the reels I'm going to show you are spooled with 30-pound braid, so they're all going to be comparable. So we'll bring in the Shimano Curado DC XG 150. That comes in at 8.2, so marginally lighter, not radically lighter. Now we get into some of the really light reels. This is the Lew's Speed Spool LFS inshore. This is a great little reel. This one is showing its age. It's the first reel I've ever purchased and used. 7.6. So you're getting lighter. These are combined aluminum and graphite and side plates. And this is the Lew's Custom Inshore. It's about a $250 reel. It has a dual brake as well, 7.35. So these reels that use, you have to deal with a little bit more abuse, but these reels that come with composite or resin or graphite side plates, they are coming in a little bit lighter. But I will say that for me, I'm 6'6", 200 pounds, plus or minus 20 pounds. And for me, an 8-ounce reel is actually quite a lightweight reel. So I do not have an issue using an 8-ounce reel. And especially when you consider what you might get on that 8-ounce reel in terms of being an all-metal body, excellent components inside, as well as a compound brake, a dual brake, and a good drag. So this reel in your hand, it feels really strong. It's all aluminum. It's a really substantive reel. It's a tiny little tank, I call it. So what we're going to do is open this up and take a look at what your first thing you notice is see that you have the hinge pin that pops out that retains this. This is actually quite excellent because you're going to want to use this to adjust these brakes, and sometimes you might be belly button deep in the surf when you change out a lure and you want to adjust that, and this gives you the ability to do that without fear of losing any of the parts. So again, this interior centrifugal brake operates kind of like a brake drum. There's a metal piece here, a rim, and these are the pin brakes. They snap in and out of their locked position. When you unlock them, bringing them out of their locked position, there is a plastic piece. These are spring loaded, and as you excite this reel and really spin it during a cast, what it will do is those centrifugal force will bring these out, and they rub that and they produce friction and they slow down the cast on that really hard initial phase of the cast. Basically, the first half of your cast, when your bait is flying upwards, these kick in, the casting brake, and then on the second half of your cast, when it's coming down towards landing, that's when you focus on your spool brake. But the casting brake here, you can turn this on and off. Now, if you were just starting out using a reel like this for the first time, I would recommend you turn all of these into the on position, minimizing backlash. It's going to compromise casting distance, but you're going to get used to the process of casting. And then come in here and start to slowly turn these off as you get better with using your thumb and adjusting the brake. But really how this works for me is I see this as a coarse brake and the mag brake is a fine brake. So for me right now, if I were casting swim bait or something large like that, I would bring maybe 50% of these brakes into the on position and turn 50%, so 3 of these brakes would go into the locked off position. That way I'm running the brake at roughly 50%, and within that I can then adjust the magnetic brake to be able to do a fine adjustment within the coarse adjustment range of the centrifugal brake. So if I were doing something super light, like a small jerk shad or something, I would take all of these into the interior locked off position so that they do not come in contact with the drum of the centrifugal brake, and then I would simply just use the spool brake. That's why this dual brake system is powerful, and that's also why this hinge pin is actually quite nice, because you would want to see something like this on a $250, $260 reel so that you can actually make adjustments.
And paddle tails, like ½ ounce total lure weight. You got really good control over the reel. You got control over the cast, and the ability to place things right where you want for the line range. Don't have to fuss with the reel much. I'm putting my thumb on the spool to terminate the cast only. So I'll let this lure get really close to the bank, and I'll put my thumb on it to terminate it like that, but I will not be using my thumb to stop the spool from overrunning. It has very good control over the spool brake and the dual brakes of the casting brake, both the centrifugal brake and the mag brake. But you got great control over casting. And again, not doing much at all with my thumb here except to terminate the cast.
All right, now I've taken this down to what would be almost classified as a Ned rig style bait. This is the this is about as Ned rig as I get. This is a Z-Man jerk shrimp on a 1/8 ounce Pro Bullet weights, also from Z-Man, and so you're down to a really lightweight compact package. Nice trout. You get good distance casting. What I got? Over the rail into the pail. So you're throwing a really light bait with this same rig that you can also throw those dense plugs that everybody tells you to. Good way to start. You can get a reel that can dial in these finessey kind of sizes using the braking systems, and you can come up with some decent everyday fish without having to resort to just super dense plugs. Pretty fish. Don't jump in the boat. So we're on up and we're on out. And if you made it this far, I thank you for your patience. This is a detailed but long-term review of a really great fishing reel that spans a wide range of usage. Instead of having to have one reel for this and one reel for that, it's great to have one reel that can adapt to a lot of scenarios, from small bait wintertime fishing to handling larger species. The Penn Fathom Low Profile 200 is an excellent example of such a reel. I hope this review helped you get a better understanding of it from a distance, in case you were ever considering a reel that could do these kinds of things.